It's time to start hearing from customers, don't you think? Yes. Great. Our first customer of the day hails from the aerospace and defense industry, and it's fitting that our journey starts there because that's where our company started. Lockheed Martin has been a customer for a long time, and we've shared a lot of experiences together. Lockheed Martin is now taking all of their innovation and all of their IP and spreading their wings, literally, going into new industries, bringing the value that they've brought to aerospace and defense and taking it to new places so they can delight customers, all centered around customer experience. So let's observe a video. Let's take a quick look at where Lockheed Martin is headed.
Technology that enables cars to drive themselves. Routine flights to Mars. Fusion reactors that produce limitless energy. To most people, they're pure science fiction from the world of tomorrow, like something out of a movie. But at Lockheed Martin, we live on the cutting edge of physics, material science, technology, and engineering. We obsess over things most people only imagine. We're at the forefront of the science that makes them real. And they're available when it matters most. It's why we're always thinking about new ways to prevent the unthinkable and building the most advanced fighter the world has ever seen. It's how we redefined what a combat ship looks like. Why we're harnessing the tides to generate electricity and protecting our most valuable resources. And while we don't know what's going to change the world next, we're probably already working on it.
Please welcome Mr. David Markham, Advanced Programs Vice President of Lockheed Martin Space Systems.
Good morning. I'm standing between you and Mardi Gras. Probably tough to get you back after lunch. On behalf of Lockheed Martin, I'm excited to be here and share some thoughts with you, with the Dassault Systems team, with the customers, clients, and members of the organization. And the video does a great job of talking about how we're thinking about the future. We like to describe ourselves as a global corporation, 120,000 employees, about 90,000 engineers and scientists, big bench. We have a lot of Sheldons that work inside Lockheed Martin. It's okay. Most of the time they explain what we're doing and I actually respond by saying, we can do that? You gotta be kidding me. So a big bench, an exciting thing, but I also represent a component of Lockheed Martin that is the space systems company. So we just celebrated 100 years as a corporation. We're going to celebrate another 100 years, and in the next 100 years, we're not going to refer to ourselves as a global corporation, but a galactic corporation. And this morning you saw some innovations and some storylines. I didn't think to put a washing machine on Mars, but I'm adding it to my list. First week of December this year, we're going to fly a capsule, the Orion test demonstration, and it is intended to take between 5 and 7 people to Mars, bring them back. So it's going to happen. Global corporation. You know, how we're thinking about our customers and clients' problem sets. Our go-to-market strategy is to do a lot of listening, a lot of critical thinking, to examine components of what's going on globally. The video alluded to this, and this is something that is unique to the Space Systems Company. We do a lot of global monitoring. You know, how is the patient Earth doing today? And the reason that we spend a lot of time measuring water temperatures, movement of winds, clouds, dust, pollutants, is that mankind tends to move where life is sustainable, where you can grow food, where you can find clean water, where the air is breathable. And most of the population on the globe is down in a littoral setting, which if the seas were to rise a foot, foot and a half, you have global displacement of major populations. And the one thing that we've determined at Lockheed Martin is when people pick up and move in the tens of millions, you usually have a form of disruptive governance. That creates, a problem, challenge, how to think about where these folks are going to go, where they're going to settle, how they identify themselves, feed, care for their children, find health care, those kinds of things. That starts a cycle of thinking of problem solving in markets that are not traditional aerospace and defense, but are built out of knowledge that we have because of the industry we're in. So we're accumulating this, we're modeling it, and we're asking these big framing strategic questions, okay? A couple of eye charts, but it's important because Lockheed Martin is not alone in this kind of thinking. Large corporations, Fortune 50, Fortune 30, everybody's grinding away on this kind of rock, pun intended, grinding away on the rock earth. And so if you look at this, my right, your left, General Electric has a think tank group that is taking a look at where immigration and people are on the move and what that means to society from their consumer products, banking, financial institutions. And on the right is a global trend study circa 2030 written by the national intelligence community. The intelligence communities are friends of Lockheed Martin, so this is the report I could share with you today. There's other versions of it. But it talks about the kinds of challenges that are going to be facing mankind and society, and they're talking in a framework of 2030. So let me see, doing the math, 2014, 2030, 15 years, 16 years to prepare for this kind of reality. A couple of points were made. Maybe the companies that will deal with this world don't exist today, or they'll be born out of organizations that can think, imagine, innovate, draw in the client and customer experience that's got to happen, engage them in this kind of problem set. So, we talk about some really important things here. And there's some interesting and exciting things. A point made by an earlier speaker talked about the country, the United States, North America, getting its props back in the ability to manufacture, getting back to what made us great. And so if you look at these 2030 reports, they're talking about the science and technology and innovation that are going to go into our factory floors and make us a global competitor in the factories. And you saw the presentation before me, the flows of intelligence and information and thinking of how it's going to go through the factories and into the sustainment chains for the long-term and durable goods. And at Lockheed Martin, we say, yeah, we want to be a part of that, and we're investing heavily. And a couple of quick points, about 70% of our finished product goods is bought through supply chains and factories, and we are a durable good manufacturer. I'm working on a couple of programs right now. They've asked me for design concepts that will run out to the year 2080. So long-term life cycle cost thinking. Trends, competitive trends, and I think this is U.S. advantage, but I also think it's the advantage of corporations and organizations that are thinking hard about where they need to be and what they need to be good at, and this is largely from the 50,000 foot level or maybe the 23,000 mile level, which is where most of our geostationary satellites are parked. It's where that we can get information intelligence from organization and organization, culture to culture, and we can create this environment of collaboration around problem solving. And so when we can bring clients and customer and problem solvers in around a definition, and they can have this 3D experience, this collaborative problem solving and decision making And you can do this in iterations, because you know, I'm a big advocate. You can't just do it in one shot and have the solution. What you want to do in our laboratories, we call it kind of a human immersive laboratory. I call it the dunk tank. I mean, you need to bring them in, you need to dunk them, keep them dunked. Because in this process of creating these experiences, what we've learned with our customers and clients is, you know, we record the audio while they're in the immersive tanks, and you could hear people saying, I wish I could, I wonder where. And you know, as they are starting to verbalize things in your immersive dunk tank, you're just writing this down going, well, product development's not too tough because right now they're telling me what they would really like to have and where the features are, okay? Classic example of this in the immersive laboratory. I talked about this capsule that will fly to Mars. That happens December, right? This December. One of the things we got asked to do was spend some time with the people that would ride in the capsule, and they wanted to lay out the dashboard, switches, buttons. Who's seen Apollo 13? Okay. Do you remember the guys from German measles down there flipping switches? I worked for that astronaut, not Gary Sinise, not the actor, but I worked for that astronaut. And he did most of that on the ground without gloves on. So when we spent some time with the people that will ride in this capsule to Mars now, they said that's not a reality-based experience. It's not warm, it's not well lit. I can't climb out, get a candy bar, or go for a breather. I'm in this capsule, and I'm going to be in this capsule for about 9 months up, a few months on Mars, and about 9 months back. And they explained to us that the dashboard inside this environment had to be operated while you were wearing these massive gloves. And so if you imagine your finger is about 4 times the size of a finger, and you had thousands of switches, and you knew which one you had to push, but you couldn't, because your finger was too big. That's the kind of immersive engineering experience, talking back and forth, that we were able to change the distribution and layout, and we got the real experience that said, those gloves, go home and put on an oven mitt and try to operate your remote control for your TV. That's the way it was explained. Second picture here, the robotics. Lockheed Martin's doing an awful lot with this. This is a program called Trooper. Its conceptualization started right after the reactor meltdowns in Japan after the tsunami. And it was to take a robot like this that would drive an ATV 4.5 miles, get out, walk over rubble, go downstairs autonomously, and activate valves. No place for a human being to go and live. That machine walks, moves, runs, climbs. It's on the East Coast. And Halloween this year, we put it in the side seat of an Oldsmobile and drove it through Cherry Hill, New Jersey, just to show the kids someone is thinking about it, okay? For Lockheed Martin Space Systems Company, how many follow the space industry, Star Trek junkies? I got bit a long time ago. My first rocket launch, when you see something that takes off and leaves that fast, I think you want to go back. That was my thing. We've developed what we call the Digital Tapestry, and this is kind of taking our virtual capabilities across the corporation. Again, about 125,000 people, 48 states, 80 million square feet of office and facilities, but we have experts in all these fields all over the country and all over the globe, and so when we define a single problem, we want to bring them into the collaboration environment so we can design, release to production, and create a customer outcome and experience. So about 5 or 6 years ago, with Dassault Systems, we developed the Digital Tapestry. We put an immersive lab on the back end of it so we could bring out our manufacturing for producibility. And we created this Digital Tapestry. And now we have built a series of critical spacecraft and airplanes. Who's heard of F-35? Who's been to an air show? Okay, now is that advertising? Is that media? Is that product placement? F-35 designed in the Tapestry. Some of our space-based communication satellite, which represent the internet, all mobility and connectivity, crossing over space-based networks that bring you 4K high-def experiences on your cell phone soon. The billing rate might be a little bit different than your friends and family plan, but it's coming. But if you go back to some of these mega trends, globally, there are going to be cities and towns, 500 million people or better, that are going to go up 1 or 2 a day like you've never seen. So if you think about mobility and connectivity and what it means to our satellite features design, that's how we built those connections. For the aerospace and defense industry, and I know many of you in your businesses, a key word is affordability. If you got a great idea and you can produce one outstanding mousetrap, which has always been the challenge for Lockheed Martin. If you needed something better, we were the place to call to build it better. And we could do so much better that you couldn't possibly have a conversation with us around affordability. That was our paradox or our juxtaposition. So having invoked our digital tapestry and the 3D experience, we started to hear from a lot of customers, doesn't matter if you produce that capability because I could never afford it. And so we started to modify our immersive experience, our 3D customer experiences on how much and when, and created those kinds of constraints. And we went into virtual builds, virtual factories, and virtual outcomes. And so we were using this tool to help us support a customer client requirement that had to be done at a certain price point inside a certain schedule, and it had to have certain kinds of capabilities. Our immersive dunk tank that we feature here in our Denver facility talks about an Oculus setup or a cave where we can put designers and customers right in. And what we're doing with that right now is we are taking the cave to our additive manufacturing, robotic production floors, and we're taking the robotic production and inspection by using glass and other technology back to the cubicle so we can close these cycle times on real-time additive manufacturing coming out of product design. And we're trying to shorten these product cycles from tens of months to a couple of days to a few hours. So if you imagine something that will fly to Mars, travel 17,000 miles an hour, and that you're able to conceive of it and produce it reliably in 2 or 3 days, that's the kind of competitive engineering advantage that the corporation I'm looking for looks for. The right side gets me up in the morning. The ability to conceive and manufacture in the immersive environment. The left side, I think is kind of cool, but a little bit scary for me. But Lockheed Martin is beginning with a number of its clients and customers to think about bioengineering and bringing systems engineering analytical sciences to the human condition. And a number of folks operating 3D printing machines at Mayo Labs and other places have begun to print replacement organs. So if you stop and think about that 5, 8 years ago, here's a conversation we were having, and between now and Mardi Gras, let's talk about replacement organs. The consequences, I think, are going to be immensely challenging. You think about what you can do, the kinds of diseases that you can resolve. It's pretty amazing stuff. So I have a few minutes to kind of give you my own editorial. I think this 3D experience is the way to go. By bringing our clients into these immersive environments, asking them what is important to them across the life cycle, capturing it, spending time watching your customers in the immersive environment and listening to what they say while you're in these iterative cycles, by drawing them into that experience and listening. I wish I had. I wish I could. We need to. It needs to be better here. These are the kinds of experiences that the corporation to corporation that we've had with Dassault Systems and our key customers. We're creating these kinds of outcomes for the 21st and 22nd century. So, this afternoon, I will take my larger than mobile device and I will put a washing machine on a launch vehicle inside my Orion capsule, and I will provide the feedback to the team before me that the knobs and dials need to be workable with big gloves. I really appreciate the chance to talk to you. Lunchtime at the Mardi Gras Bar and Grill, courtesy of Ken. I'll be there. Thank you. Thank you so much.